Let me open the box then. Let's see what's in it. This is from my granddaughter, this guitar. She has decided she wants to learn to play the guitar, so here we are. Now I've seen guitar cases cost more than this entire guitar. But this case, it's a dust cover more than anything. But it looks fine to me. The important thing though is this guitar inside. Let me turn it around. Take off the laggy band. And off the soft top. What I'm hoping for in particular for this, more than anything, is a nice, easy to play guitar with an easy action. I'll show you about that later. It looks good to me to start with. Plus, machine heads that actually hold the strings in tune. It's going to take a day or two for the whole thing to settle down once we stretch it up to the right tension. It's a nice wide neck, so that's going to make it easy for finger picking. Makes it a bit more difficult for reaching your fingers across, but you know, if you're going to learn, especially a bit of classical guitar, it's good to be able to put individual fingers on individual strings. Let's look at what else there is in this box. In here, there's some plectra, a couple of plectra. There seems to be a spare string. Is it just a single one, or is it a complete set? It's a set of strings. That's very good. There's a cleaning cloth, and astonishingly, there's a tuner, and I've seen tuners cost almost as much as this. We've had this guitar a few days now. It's been played on and off for a few days now, so it's had a chance to settle down, and I think it's time to have a proper look at it. Let me talk to you about it from the point of view of a learner though, because that's really what it's being sold as. The first thing is there's not much to go wrong with a guitar really, as you probably can guess. So there's a sound box here. This is a very nice sound box. It's made of wood. It's quite decent wood as well. It's relatively small, the sound box, so it's not a very loud guitar, and as a parent you might be grateful for that, who knows. So it's not a very loud guitar, but it's a nice, easy to manage one. It's easy to hold. Looking at the performance of it, there's a few things that you need as a learner. One is the width of this has not got to be too small so you can't put individual fingers on the different strings, but it's not got to be so wide so a smallish hand can't actually stretch across. That'll come in time if you're playing classical guitar. It's between a classical guitar, the width of this, which would be about that size, and a rock guitar, which would be much closer, much narrower. The machine heads up here are great. They hold their position. If you buy this, it's going to take a few days for it to settle down. You're going to have to tune it and tune it and tune it. Mainly because these strings down at this end, the knots where they're tied in, will settle down and stretch and pull. And the strings themselves will expand, will slacken. That's perfectly normal. Any set of strings you have to be played in. So it'll take a few days for the whole thing to settle in. But once you set the tension with one of these machine heads, it stays, it doesn't move, it's really good. I've seen these, to be honest, where you turn this to where the right tuning, and there's so much play in these cogs and wheels and whatever, it then immediately resets itself down. So you've got to tune it over and let it fall down. None of that with this. This is precise, this is dead on. The other big thing, and this really is a big thing for any guitar really, but especially for a learner, it's called the action, and it's looking to see the gap between the string and the frets. Now always at this end, it's okay. Fret this, and it'll play a note, it'll play a good clean note easily. But as you go along the string, some guitars the gap gets wider and wider. The tension in the spring when you fret it is going to be higher anyway. And when you try and fret down here, it's impossible, especially for a learner, because the force you need is so large. But this is really good. This is very close all the way along. I'll get a learner to play this for you so you can actually hear it being played in a moment. But really, it's very impressive. There's been no movement. It's very strongly made. So this gap is, you know, sometimes if it's a weakly made guitar, there'll be a bit of steel down the centre of this to hold it all in place. But this is fine. There's been no movement in I think it's 4 days we've had this now. There's been no movement in that at all. What's wrong with this guitar? Well, to be honest, I've looked quite closely at it and nothing really. The sound is good. It's not brilliant. It's not got a whole range of tones in it. It's a very simple sound box up at this end. And you could pay, you know, £300-400 for a guitar and it would sound better. It would have a more mellow, fuller tone than this. But then you'd be paying a whole load of money for it. And really, you don't need that, especially for a learner. Even someone that plays a guitar anyway, it's a nice little guitar to play because it is small and compact and all of the rest. That's perhaps the only physical fault I can find with this, that it's a little small, and you know, that's great really, that's great in this particular guitar, so it's not a complaint at all. This really is a perfect compromise for the guitar really. It's wide enough to be able to play chords easily. It's got non-metal strings here, it's got these easily fretted strings here, so it's not too hard on the fingers. Your fingers are going to suffer, you are going to get calluses on your left hand when you play a guitar, and you are going to have to grow your nails a bit for the right hand. But you can pluck this, the strings are far enough apart to be able to do a finger pick quite easily. But now let me just show you something that's come with the guitar. I've clipped this on here. This is a marvellous device. We've not actually used one before. We've always tuned our guitars by tuning them to themselves and then to the piano and so on. But this is a remarkable device, and if you've not had one of these before, it shows you exactly what note the string is playing. And if it's not quite right, it lets you tune it up or down to the right. Oh, just green there. There we are, perfectly tuned. So that's how you can tune one of these guitars, even if you're a learner. It's one of the real problems of being a learner, is managing to tune your guitar on your own, because you're a novice. But with this little device, it clips on here. It's marvellous. I know they've been around for a while, but I've just not seen one before. I've never handled one before, and I think it's fantastic. You know, I really love this guitar. I think it's fantastic for what it is. I'll get a learner now to do a little bit of strumming and a little bit of finger picking, and you can hear it in action. But fantastic, I think.